Hi guys, how are you doing? It's Sunday and we have a hard Clues by Sam today. If you don't know what Clues by Sam is, it's a daily logic puzzle game where you have 20 people on a board. Each of them may be a criminal or an innocent and they give you clues to help you figure out who is what. And I'm here in the channel every day doing this, and if you need help because you're playing it, there is a link in the description for you to try it out, and I'm going to try to explain my logic, so if you want to go along with me, let's start. We start with Janet telling us that only one of the three instances neighboring Carl is in row 2. Well, Janet is in row 2, but she isn't neighboring Carl. And 3 people are neighboring Carl in row 2, but only one of them is innocent. And the clue also says that Carl has 3 instances neighboring him. Since only one of them is here, and there has to be 2 more, the only other people who could be those 2 are Bonnie and Eve, which means that both of them are innocent. And we know the total for row 2, but that clue doesn't help us anymore. Now, Bonnie tells us gum is illegal in Singapore. That's interesting. Eve tells us that Sophia is one of Vera's 2 innocent neighbors. Where's Sophia? Here. So Sophia is an innocent, and either Ruby or Wally are the second innocent neighbor for Vera. Now Sophia tells us that only one of the 3 innocents neighboring Eve is Mark's neighbor. Mark's here. People neighboring Eve. Where's Eve? Here. So we know that Eve has 3 innocent neighbors just like Carl. And one of them neighbor Mark. So Eve and Mark share 2 neighbors in common. One of them is an innocent. That's the one innocent for Carl that's in row 2 as well. So the other person who is not that innocent and is not neighboring Eve or Mark. Oh, that person is also neighboring Mark, but it's not neighboring Eve. That person is a criminal for sure. And what we also know is that Eve has 2 innocent neighbors here in row 2. Since she has 3 total, that means that either Carl or Freya are an innocent and the other one is a criminal. Now Gus tells us that exactly 2 of Mark's 3 innocent neighbors also neighbor Ollie. So now we know the total for Mark, 3 innocent neighbors as well. One of them is here, either Helen or Ivan. And him and Ollie share 4 neighbors total. Sophia, Tina, Helen, and Ivan. 2 of them are already innocents. And those 2 are the ones who neighbor Ollie. So that tells us that Tina is a criminal because of the clue. Mark has 1 more innocent neighbor among these people. Now, Tina tells us that... Oh, let's leave the clue there because it tells us the total. Tina tells us that Zane is one of her 3 innocent neighbors. Everybody has 3 innocent neighbors. That's the theme for today. So Zane is one of them. And in Alabama, it's illegal to play dominoes on Sunday. What? Tina now tells us that Zane, oh yeah, she has 3 innocent neighbors. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with that? I don't know where to look. I guess we need to think about Tina because she's gonna have only 1 innocent neighbor. Could Ollie be an innocent? He could. But if Ollie were to be an innocent, that would be the 3rd innocent neighbor for Mark. Because we would have Sophia, Ollie, and someone up here. Mark has 3 total, which would make Ruby a criminal. And Ruby would be making Wally an innocent. And that breaks Tina, because now Tina has 1, 2, 3, 4 innocent neighbors. So Tina couldn't have Wally be an innocent. Now Wally tells us that Peter is one of 3 criminals in row 3. Peter is a criminal, then row 3 has 3 of them. So either Kumar or Mark are an innocent and the other one is a criminal. Peter now tells us there are exactly 2 innocents below Carl. 2 innocents? How will we deal with that? I guess it's the same thing for Mark and Wally. If Mark were to be a criminal, let's say that, Kumar would have to be an innocent, right? And that would be the 3rd innocent neighbor for Mark, because he would have Sophia, Kumar, and someone up here. So that would make Ruby a criminal. And Ruby being a criminal forces Wally to be an innocent. Does that work for everybody? It does. No issue there. Tina still has 3 innocents. What if Mark were an innocent? Let me first erase these. What if Mark were an innocent? That would make Kumar a criminal. And now Mark needs a 3rd innocent neighbor. And that has to be Ruby, which would make Wally a criminal. In both situations, Mark and Wally are one or the other, and Helen has to be an innocent to make the 2nd innocent below Carl. Because if Mark is an innocent, he forces Ruby to be a criminal, and that makes Wally an innocent. What? Mark is a criminal. He forces Ruby to be a criminal and Wally to be an innocent. That's the opposite scenario. And that makes it so that Helen has to be an innocent. Is that not it? Am I going too far in my assumptions? What did I miss then? Because what I said was Mark. Oh, Sophia is an innocent. I ignored Sophia. Sophia is the 2nd innocent in this case, so Mark's gonna be 1, or Wally's gonna be 1, and then Sophia is the 2nd one, and the clue tells us there are 2 innocents below Carl, so Helen has to be a criminal. Not an innocent. That's okay. Now Ivan tells us that Gus has more innocent neighbors than Vera. Gus? Where's Gus? Oh, here. Gus is gonna have 1 innocent neighbor here, who's either gonna be Kumar or Mark. The 2nd one here is Bonnie, but we know the total for Vera, right? Vera has 2 innocent neighbors. So Gus couldn't have 2 only, which means that Carl has to be a 3rd one, and that makes Freya a criminal. What is it in Finland? An old law obligates you to grow hops in your yard. That's cool. Nice, easy meat base there. Freya tells us there's an equal number of innocents in columns A and B. Columns. So we know the total of innocents in column A. That's 3, right? Sophia, Carl, and someone else here. We can mark these like so that we remember that, but it's pretty clear now. And we know there has to be 3 as well in column A. How does that work? If Mark is an innocent, Kumar has to be a criminal, and Ruby has to be an innocent. Which makes Wally a criminal. How many innocents do we have now? Bonnie, Ruby, and Vera has to be the 3rd one. What if it were the opposite? What if Mark were a criminal? Kumar would have to be an innocent, and then Ruby would have to be a criminal. Now, in any situation, Vera has to be an innocent. And Vera tells us there's an odd number of innocents neighboring Ruby. So Ruby has Sophia and Vera so far, that's 2. She's gonna have a third one who's either gonna be Kuma or Mark, which makes it so Wally has to be a criminal, or else she would have an even number of innocents neighboring her. So Wally has to be a criminal. And that makes Ruby herself an innocent, and that makes Kuma a criminal, and that makes Mark an innocent. Right? What else do we know now? Tina has 3 innocents total. So that makes both Xavi and Uma criminals. I'm sad about that yellow there, but it wasn't known as yellow. Sometimes I just ignore some people. I don't understand why. It makes me crazy. But yeah, it's the holiday, so we're taking it lightly, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did play it, how it went for you. Happy ending of your Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Bye bye.